Hello, everybody. Welcome to this brand new season of Rush Roots. This is season 3. We haven't done any Rush Roots since February of 2022. So last year, so it's been about 11 months to this recording. So if you're new to the channel, what is Rush Roots? Well, Rush Roots is where we bring on members of our community and they get to share kind of how they got into the band and kind of what their Rush preferences are. So it's kind of a way to get to know some of our community a little bit more. So our very first episode of season 3, we have Sarah Pratt from both Rush fans and NP Tour, and she'll elaborate on that a little bit later. But you're in Phoenix, Arizona now, and we're going to kind of get to know you a little bit. So Jim, go ahead.
All right. So Sarah, why don't you tell us how you got into Rush, what got you into them, and what keeps you around? This is kind of your Rush roots here.
So I was born into it. My mom is a big Rush fan. So I, grew up like listening to Rush. I remember being probably maybe 3 or 4 years old in the car and hearing The Pass and like recognizing it as sounding different from what I was used to hearing, So, I mean, I was really little when and so basically my mom got me into them. Rush was always one of my favorite bands growing up, but not necessarily like my very favorite. In middle school, my favorite was the Beatles, and in high school I was really into Pink Floyd. And it wasn't until the end of high school, like early college, that Rush and Pink Floyd were kind of tied, for my number one. And then when I was in grad school, Rush really became my number one. I think that was kind of when I was almost like a fan. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but besides just my mom introducing me to them, like I actually really, my appreciation for them grew way more. So since then, it's like probably 8 years they've been number one for me.
Wow, cool. That's awesome. Well, I'm going to assume that you've seen them before, right? So why don't you tell us where the first show was and what tour?
So my first show was R30 at White River Amphitheater in Auburn, Washington. I don't know how old I was, but it was really fun. My mom and her siblings and my cousins and a whole bunch of us met up at the show. So it was like a really big deal. And I have been to 10 shows total. So since R30, I pretty much have seen every show, but some of them more than once because I grew up in Tacoma, Washington area. So my mom and I used to go to like the Seattle show and the Portland, Oregon show. So
that's cool. Yeah.
So from R30 to R40, you've seen everyone?
Pretty much. I think there was one in there that we missed, but yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, why don't you tell us, you may have already answered this, but why don't you tell us kind of what your first favorite song was, or maybe the, kind of the first song that you played on repeat and first favorite album. And tell us kind of how that differs from what perhaps you would say now that you're obviously really into Rush, you're probably going to have multiple favorites, but tell us kind of where your preferences are at now.
So my first favorite song was The Pass, which, I was really little when I heard it. And it was probably like in middle school, high school, that I got really into all the 80s, early 90s stuff. So for a long time, my favorite album was Presto. And then it actually was Hold Your Fire for a long time. And then for a while, more recently, it was Snakes and Arrows. But then around the time I got pregnant, so my kid is 2, so 3 years ago ish, it was 2112, and I've just been like obsessed with 2112. But now lately, I I am like really into Crest of Steel. Like it's my all-time favorite. I
Yes.
absolutely love it. And that's been more like the last 6 months. Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is my favorite album. Like this is the best album. So, but I
That's
mean,
great.
I like all of it really. I mean, I still love 2112. I still love, I love Signals and Snakes and Arrows still, but and Power
Sound
Window.
exactly like every other diehard Rush fan whose preferences just
Yeah,
shift all over the
they
place
just
now.
keep
And yeah.
changing.
Now,
It's
you did mention that you have a 2-year-old. So why don't you
yes.
tell us? Obviously, we know, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about him, and why don't you tell us what his favorite song is, or what kind of Rush he's into?
Okay, so my 2-year-old's name is Peart. He, yeah. So his name is Peart, and you know, I don't know he will dance to pretty much anything. Lately with him, we've been listening to Signals a lot. But for a while there, he really liked Vapor Trails. And
Oh,
when he was
cool.
little, yeah. And it's really funny because even like earlier, we were in the kitchen cooking dinner, like just before this, and he was in his little tower, helping me. And I was like, hey, Google, play. Oh, shoot. It's gonna.
Uh-oh. Don't say that too loud.
Okay, I told my emoji to play Signals, and Pierre was like, Dodo, pay Rush. And I was like, yes. He calls Google Dodo. So yeah,
That's
Dodo.
me. How can I help?
Sorry.
Oh, there she goes.
Yeah. How can I
Yeah.
help you? Wow, that's awesome. That is so great. Well, why don't you tell us where we can find you on social media if people want to get to know you more as a Rush fan?
So my personal account is just my name, as it's SJ Schrader, which is my married last name. My other account though is NP Tour. My mom and I have been traveling to all of the national parks, or trying to go to all the national parks. We started it almost 5 years ago, 5 years ago this year. And we're doing it because Neil did it. So we've been trying to like kind of repeat or some of his tours, like we do similar things to what he did, at least that we know about, like what he's written about. So we've hit 46 parks. There's 63.
Wow.
This will be our 5th year anniversary in July. So we're going to have a big party. But anyways, that account is official. I think is it just official NP Tour?
I think so.
There may be an underscore in there.
We'll check right now. Check it on the spot.
Okay, I'm checking. So that's where we just share all of our, travels and everything. We have a website too with a blog, and so we write about, my mom mostly writes about all of our different trips and stuff, and we share those on our account too. It's official_NP Tour. NP like National Park or Neil Peart.
Neil Peart. Cool. That's so cool. That's so neat that you guys do that.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right. Anything else? Any random Rush facts you want to say about yourself? Anything you want to share before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I'm sure.
Cool.
Well, you could say that you did season 1 of Stick It Out with us on our channel, and that was a lot of fun. So we'll plug Stick It Out. I know we're just starting up Rush Roots again here, and we're gonna start up season 3 of Stick It Out in a little bit. So stay tuned.
That was actually how Peart got into Vapor Trails, because I can't remember what song I was listening to, but I had it on repeat all the time. So
it was like Earthshine, right? So for the viewers that don't know what Stick It Out is our show that we, you choose 5 Rush songs that you kind of don't like or never got into or whatever, and you stick it out with them for one song every 2 weeks, and then we kind of report back as a group and kind of see how we got into them, or if we got into it. So that will be coming in the future, but you can watch Sarah on season 1 of that if you want. I'm sure you'll be on a roundtable coming up in the future. So, and at some point, we'll have to have your mother on for Rush Roots as well because
Yes,
we haven't done that. So,
yeah, her story is a little bit cooler than mine.
so stay tuned. We'll do that at some point in the future. So, if everyone watching, if you want to get involved in Rush Roots, we highly encourage it. You know, this is kind of a series to, you know, if you don't feel comfortable talking on a panel like with Rush Roundtable, this is kind of a way to talk about yourself and kind of join our community that way. So if you're interested in doing that, just email rushfans@rushfans.net. Very simple. rushfans@rushfans.net, and we'll have you on. So, Sarah, thanks for doing this, and everyone that's watching, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks.
There's Peart.